All right, everyone. Welcome into Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is another Florida State Seminoles live. You have joined us, of course, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So remember that time. Remember that day, Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. This is the place to be to talk Florida State football. And of course, we invite college football fans from every region, every team. If you check out the live chat, you can tell that we've got fans from just about every fan base in the ACC and beyond joining us to talk college football. So knock yourself out. Have a good time there in the live chat as we check out the analysis from Big Game James Coleman of fifth quarter college football. And of course, the standby, the steady Jason Parker from Chop Chat.
God, I love it when you do that.
Football.
I
How
love
are
it
we doing tonight, boys?
I love it when you do that each week. It gives me that motivation to just do my thing. And also, I want to give a shout out to James Coleman. Sounds like he's doing construction somewhere in the along Florida's first coast there. Good God, man, James.
Oh, we've already lost him.
We've already lost him.
He was not inspired by your introduction or mine.
I mean, I thought it was good. I thought you had a nice introduction. I thought you said his name well, whatnot. I get it.
I tried.
But cool. Yeah. There's a few things going on. There he is. He's back again. The voice of James Coleman.
Yeah, my bad. I was getting some feed. I had to take my Wi-Fi connection off my iPad. It was getting a little weird. So,
how you looking, James?
Doing good, man. Just happy Tuesday. Looking to slow down a little bit after we finally get some kids. After we get this signing day stuff going. And on top of that, being a dad right now with a full-time dad with a 1-year-old that's chasing me around my house.
Hey, James, if it makes you feel better, mine are 23 and 20, and they would sound exactly the same in the background. It would be no different.
I've got a golden retriever.
Whining and complaining all the time.
I got a golden retriever who's about 2. I mean, I guess that's like I don't know. James, quick question for you. Now, this is a big day, obviously, in the life of high school football players. Talk about your signing day experience and the experience when you made the decision to go to Florida State. And talk about what that meant for you and like just what was going on with you that day.
Well, signing day for me was like we had ours in February, and mine was a little bit different. I had to sweat out a little bit more than others because I decided that I didn't like to go to class and do homework, but I scored a 30 on the ACT. So they weren't sure I was going to be able to academically qualify. So I signed on signing day, but I had to grind it out. I had to sweat it out a little bit. But mine was between two rivals. It was between me and Florida. I mean, between Florida State and Miami. I was really interested, and I went on a visit to Georgia Tech, but again, I didn't like school. So they talked a lot about academics, and I was like, nah, I'm good. The cool thing about Georgia Tech then, though, was that they had the Olympic like training center and all that stuff, or like that the housing. That was the athletic housing. So like that was in '96. So I went on a visit in 02, the winter of 02. So it was still kind of new. Like, but I think they had a renovation of some stuff. I had a client go there to Georgia Tech a few years ago. A kid named Step Durham plays for. I believe he plays for Kansas. He played for Kansas City last season, I know at least. But anyways, yeah, it was basically between FSU and Miami, and I chose Florida State, and those were the two schools that I really enjoyed watching growing up with a family from the Northeast. But I say every time this year now, and that first Wednesday in February, that the best cake that you'll ever eat in life is signing day cake. It's better than trust me, wedding day cake sucks. It's better than wedding day cake. Graduation cake pales in comparison. Signing day cake is just really sweet because it's this could be your last big hurrah, but it's really, really all your hard work over the last 4 years have been summed up, and now you get an opportunity to go advance your talents, which puts you in, whether it's D2, NAIA, FCS, FBS, it puts you in the top 2% of the population. So you're one of the best athletes. You're now an elite athlete, no matter if you signed at Florida State or not.
My divorce cupcake was pretty good. I don't know. That was a good one. It was nice red velvet. It was nice.
We would probably gain a lot more viewers had we maybe told our personal stories and highlighted by yours, Jason, as you allude to right there, maybe. the divorce cupcake.
It was nice. It was a nice red velvet cupcake. That's my favorite. So nice red velvet.
Velvet's good.
Cream cheese on top. It was nice. It was good. It's delicious.
Oh, I think we'll venture into the more traditional National Signing Day conversation as Jason moves us along down the rundown. Let's go to from divorce cupcake to National Signing Days on Wednesday. Yeah, that's it. National Signing Day, December 18th. And boy, I'm going to give the list of teams that we're going to cover tomorrow. It's crazy. For the next 3 days, Wednesday through Friday, I've got coverage all over the map. But for right now, Jason asked a very pertinent question in regards to James' experience as fan, player, high school level, recruit, and then bam, he signed to Florida State and now covers college football and the NFL. Jason, as you look at Florida State's class as it currently stands,
is James being attacked?
How does it look?
I'm just making sure James is okay. James, are you okay? Blink once. Live, James.
I'm fine. It's
I believe I'm going to be activating the mute button.
Yeah,
I gotta find it here first.
When I'm not talking. I'm sorry, guys.
You're good. You're good, James. We need you.
We wrote something on Shop Chat today talking about it. I think there's a lot of people who are willing to give Mike Norvell a little bit of a pass in a lot of the same way that Willie Taggart got a pass when he was hired about a week and a half, 2 weeks before the 2017 early signing period. So I think there's a lot of people who are looking right now. 24/7 Sports has Florida State with the 24th ranked class right now. Nationally, I believe that was as of this weekend, had the 24th ranked class. I think there's going to be I think you will see a little bit of movement up. I think there's a couple guys who are right on the fence who maybe committed to other schools. FSU hosted a lot of players this week, a lot who are already committed to FSU, some guys who are committed to other schools. So I think you will see one or two guys come. Hopefully a couple guys don't jump ship. I think we may have to worry about that. I don't think Jeff Sims commits to Florida State. I think he does go to Georgia Tech. That's just my opinion. Obviously, he's looking at Florida State, Maryland, Georgia Tech. But I think you will see FSU's class go into the top 20. I think that's the goal for right now, is get that class into the top 20 now, finish it up in February, maybe get into the top 15. Maybe can they sneak into the top 10? Who knows? And then from there, build into the 2021 class and on from that point.
Who are the major leans right now?
I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Jason. I think except for this, I'm not gonna give him any leeway, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I actually like everything that I'm seeing, and he's growing on me more. There's a lot of differences in this. I believe there's always people act differently when they're fired, when someone's fired, as opposed to when they move on. So I believe the players already should have an ear, because they should have a different light, and everything about him has been talked about, discipline and all these other things. Plus, he didn't get the number 65th or the number 70th ranked recruiting class. The recruiting class actually was pretty decent before we let go of the tag, and even within, the guys held on strong for more weeks than what I thought they would hold on. Considering some of these guys didn't have. Some of the guys like Lloyd Willis was a reach, even though I think he'll project good. The Actovich, whatever his name is, the kid from IMG, who we ended up telling to pursue other options.
Right.
He was good. Jeff Sims, a 4-star. You had Tate, but you got some guys on there, and you got some silence, or maybe not silence, but you have some guys you have a really good shot at that I believe will get, like a Brian Robinson. So, and the reason why is because of the gambles in which he's taking in recruiting. And it's not really a gamble. It's just his mentality and his mindset. I love it. I actually love it. He's very straightforward. And you're going to know exactly. Like, I can't wait to meet him as a former player. Because I'm going to know where I stand at real quick. He's either going to like me being a former player in the media, or he's going to be like, yeah, I don't really want you around the program like that because I can't trust you. But I like knowing where I stand with people, because I don't like wishy-washy people. But that has empowered and made a lot of recruits respect it. And actually, let me rephrase that. All the recruits respect it, but it's only made one guy kind of take a step back, because the quarterback is the prize bet, especially this quarterback, who's been the one who's been pushing the charge of leading recruiting and trying to get other people involved and get people to come to Florida State. when Georgia Tech is telling you how pretty you are and how gorgeous you are and how we would love to have you in our class, Maryland, quite a few other Division I schools, and some other ones that say, hey, we don't really trust it unless you decommit. Then we'll find out if we really. Then we'll let you know how interested we are. When Norvell came over, he didn't give that energy. He gave that energy of, I can't wait to get to know you, and it's 1 week left into the official visit season for early signing period. And it's more of a like, nah, dog, we're not trying to get to know each other. It's either you believe I should be in this class or I shouldn't be in this class because there's others who want it. So if he gets Purdy and you got Tate, what's Roadhouse's road? Rodenberg? Rodenbaker?
Rodenmaker,
so
yeah.
Then boom, I'm already high fives, man. Boom, that's great. We got a 4 and a better 3-star. Because I did not like, we call him Old Town Road in the 5th quarter. Cade Renfro. I think is it Cade or Austin Renfro? The kid that just committed to Ole Miss. Let me rephrase it. Not that I didn't like it, because my opinion on that doesn't matter as much. I feel like he wasn't Florida State caliber. He's a good kid, but he's going to Ole Miss, D1, obviously. I just didn't think he was Florida State caliber. But if you can get a 4-star quarterback after kind of, not really giving the world to a 4-star quarterback, because I'm going to put it like this. He gave energy, but it wasn't the same energy that he gave Purdy. And I think that's really where it all kind of fell apart. He didn't even know about Purdy with Sims, from what I understand. But you courted him pretty heavy, so much so that he gave you a visit in less than 3 to 4 days of you being a coach. And you got a guy who's 2 hours that you flew and you spent 2 hours with, that you could not get to come on his last visit. Those are the things that those are the only things that kind of make me worry. But like you said, Justin, if we're able to get a top 20 class coming after tomorrow, then I believe we're set up to finish in the top 15. If he can get some key JUCO guys and some quality and some of the other quality guys that are waiting around.
And I like Tate Rodenmaker. Obviously, he's from the Valdosta area coming in. I like the fact that he came in for a visit, committed very quickly to FSU. I think he's going to be loyal to the program, loyal to Coach Norvell, loyal to the system. And I like the fact that they've talked about the fact that FSU is going to go to a little bit more of a pro style offense than what you've seen in the past. Not full Jimbo Fisher style, but it is going to be more of a pro style game. Now, my question to you, you're up in the First Coast, you're up there in Jacksonville. Obviously, that's where Jeff Sims is from. And you've talked about this obviously this week on 5th quarter and on all your commitments, your media commitments up there. Talk to us about what happened. What happened where he was one of FSU's most solid commitments? Then obviously Coach Taggart got fired with 3 games left of the regular season. Was it that? Was he already starting to go away from FSU? Give us a little bit of insight on the whole Jeff Sims thing.
It's a thing where Jeff has a phenomenal quarterback coach who's got about 55 kids in college, and my radio partner Denny Thompson, and he's seeing almost everything. But then he's seen everything, and he included myself. But then nothing was quite like this coaching search. The lack of communication from the administration and the cloak and dagger way that things were handled, like it was some kind of government secret ops mission when it was just a head coaching search, I believe hindered the first class of the Mike Norvell era. Mike Norvell, being a dynamic personality, can probably overcome a lot of it. But I believe the fact that they took so long might have hurt him. And now, granted, as I talked with you, I believe it was last Friday, Mark. It was like, last Thursday, in the history of college football searches, when has anybody ever said that they didn't get the guy that they wanted? They always get the guy that they go after. But typically, it doesn't take you a month head start to get the guy that you're after, even if it is Mike Norvell, whether honorable, however you feel about it being honorable or not, if he were truly entertaining Florida State with 3 weeks left in the season, that's not honorable. Like, you were cheating on them. You were cheating on them. They just didn't know you were cheating on them. So, that to me, it's indifferent. You either want the job or you don't. But kudos to finishing it out for whatever moral stance that gives you. But again, that's my position, and most people will feel like it's different. So I go back to the conversation that Mike Norvell had with one Jeff Sims. I think it was three parties heard a conversation, and you got three different reactions. And that's kind of what happens all the time. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are left confused. And I believe Jeff was left confused. And you can find you combine that confusion that he got left, which is not what you want to leave your guy as, combined with the fact that for 3 weeks he had no idea what was going on at Florida State. So what happened was he allowed some guys to kind of creep in. What people don't know is that Jeff might have went to Penn State had he decommitted if he wanted to decommit if he was committed to tag, he would have decommitted that day. Penn State would have probably got him on the first flight there, and he probably would have committed to Penn State. That's the thing what people don't understand. That kid loved Florida State, and so did his dad. They were enamored with everything that was Florida State. But we were a rudderless ship for 4 weeks. There's no other way to describe it, which is unprofessional, which is not how a big boy program should look. Now, I believe Mike Norvell has a lot of qualities of a one Dan Mullen. I think you can see the ship righted really, really quick if he's able to do those things. But I think that's really what happened. And if it was a situation where Mike Norvell really flew 2 hours, an hour from Jacksonville, because it takes more time almost to land the plane, get off the plane, get on the plane, get it off, land it, get off, than it would have been to drive over to Jacksonville. I think that would have been a gross waste of university finances when you could have had a 30-minute phone call conversation, and also having a 2-hour meeting with the young man. And so the difference between me and this one and a lot of other people is that this is a situation where I could just pick up the phone and find out exactly what happened. And when I found out what happened, my thoughts weren't, oh my God, that was the end of the world. I can't believe he pulled the offer. My thoughts were, okay, he just wants to come and get to know you. But I can also understand it's kind of late to get to know somebody in this game. You either know or you don't know. But that's really my 2 cents on the whole Jeff Sims situation. I think Norvell is going to had to do his best for FSU, and Jeff has to do his best for himself. And I think fans should probably take a back seat on judging either side, because in 3 to 5 years, Jeff could go to Georgia Tech or Maryland or wherever and be great. And now he gets drafted to your favorite team. And you hated the guy for so many years for no reason. But we know, and that's that kid's prerogative to try to get to where he needs to get to, because in 3 to 5 years, we know exactly where Mike Norvell more than likely will be at, making $3.7 million or more coaching the program. So that's his prerogative and the kid's prerogative.
And we've talked about this in the past 4 weeks. Mike Norvell is not a hire you wait 5 weeks for. Mike Norvell is not the hire you make if you're going to fire Willie Taggart with 3 games left in the season. Mike Norvell, with all due respect, great career at Memphis, he's the coach you hire after the Florida game. That's a 1-week decision at the most. That's not a hire you spend 4 weeks to or 5 weeks doing. Excuse me. I don't believe the administration is saying that he's the only guy who was offered the job. I think he was just the last guy and the one who accepted the position. As far as Jeff Sims is concerned, best of luck. And once again, anyone who sits here, and I'm not just talking about FSU fans, I'm talking about Florida fans, Miami fans, Ohio State fans, anyone who demeans a high school player for making a decision that is, like James talked about, the most important decision, shut up and back away. Let these players make their decision. Is it disappointing as an FSU grad that Jeff Sims is more than likely not coming to FSU? Of course, it's disappointing. He has to make the best decision for himself. If he decides right now that Georgia Tech is the best place for him, mazel tov, go to Georgia Tech. If he decides Maryland, go to Maryland. If he decides to come to Florida State, great, come to Florida State. But guys, seriously, and this is to all fans in garnet and gold, orange and blue, scarlet and gray, whatever, take it easy. These are 18-year-old kids making the most important decision for many of them for in the first 18 years of their life and the rest of their life. Let them make their decisions and be respectful. That's all I'm going to say.
No doubt about that. We talk Florida State football each and every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time with these two fine gentlemen. I know that you can't see one of them, but you see them on a regular basis.
Yeah,
you catch them
I
over
agree
on
with
Big
that.
Game James
I
36.
Got nothing much to say to that. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on – so you said you like Rodenbach, over Redenbacher, whatever his name is. The kid from Georgia.
Tate Rodenbacher.
It's going to be his nickname.
Tate Rodenbacher. I saw some film on Purdy, and I made a comment, or my partner Denny made a comment, because what I do is when I hear about quarterbacks, I'm going to give you an honest opinion. that's not what I know. I don't really understand the position and the totality of everything to do. I don't like a lot of people. I don't pretend to know things that I don't know. I know how to call an offense, but I don't know all the things that they have to know cerebrally. So I asked Denny Thompson. I tend to glean on information from Denny Thompson, and Denny made a very astute observation of a Chuba Purdy. And I don't know what the demographics of the state of Arizona are, but I do know what the demographics of the state of Florida when it comes to football, Georgia, and I also know what it looks like in college football. I'm not sure if anybody's ever glanced at a football game on a Saturday or on a Sunday, but it's quite a few African Americans. I'm not saying that there aren't any. There's quite a few white people too, but there's quite a few African Americans. When you look through his highlight film for the first 5 minutes, it stands out how white it is. So like, it's not saying his speed isn't good. It's not. I'm just curious the level of competition that he's actually played against. So like, that's why I like Tate better at this juncture, because I know the level. And again, it's white black isn't different. It's more so I understand what South Georgia football is like, or what Georgia football is like. Period. When you look at the draft, when you look at where the most Division I prospects come, it comes from California, Texas, Georgia, and the state of Florida. Louisiana's in there as well. So I know what he's played against. What are your thoughts on Chuba Purdy or Tate, considering these would be the two biggest signees of the first class of the Norvell era?
I don't think Purdy comes to FSU. I think it was a sexy move, but I think it was a little bit too late in the party. And I think that once again goes back to the whole, you're sitting there, you're waiting until basically the last possible moment to go out there. So I'm not a big person who thinks that the class is going to ride or die with Purdy. What I do like about Tate, and then you talked about that, and I'm going to use an example. I live here in just outside Fort Lauderdale. Out of the 8 classifications in the state of Florida, 7 of the state champions this season were from South Florida. That's why I've always said, we've talked about it, give me a 3-star player from Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County over the 5-star from New Jersey, the 5-star from Arizona, the 5-star from Idaho. That was just for you, Mark Rogers, TV, the voice of college football. The 5-star from Kansas. Give me these players, because like you said, you hit the nail on the head. I know who they've played against. In working 2 years in Tallahassee, I got to cover South Georgia football. I know what Valdosta high school football goes against. I know what Lowndes goes against. I know what Thomasville goes against. I trust them. I trust Tate more, A, because of the level of competition he's played, and B, because he is more of the pro-style offense. And I think that's one of the issues that hurt Willie Taggart, was going from 0 to 100 as far as you're going from the pro-style, the closest thing to Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler in the 60s and 70s Big Ten football, that pro-style football, to the RPOs, the fast break, the Gulf Coast offense. And I think that was the problem, is that signing class starting December of 2017 and February of 2018 didn't adequately go for that. I like how Norvell, I like how the assistants are going after guys for the future. They're not going after, what do we have right now? What is the future? Nothing new. Jason's still upset about the hire. Good grief. I've said it now 2 weeks in a row. I guess people don't want to listen. I guess listening is fundamental. So I'll say it slowly for you. Nothing new. I don't have a problem with Mike Norvell. I have a problem with the process. I have the problem with spending 5 weeks firing a coach after just 21 games just to hire the coach from Memphis. It's not enough against Mike Norvell. I don't think Mike Norvell is successful, and I think he will be. But the process was flawed. Is that slow enough for you? Nothing new? Got it.
Jason, more importantly, I've been upgraded to a presidential.
I mean, Mike will be fine.
James,
if the administration gives him the tools that he needs to be successful. If they don't give him the tools, then he'll be a white Taggart who's a little bit cheaper. But that's something that doesn't even need to really be said. That's something that's more should be known. But so again, I'm kind of with you. I don't really know. I think like I said, if he doesn't get the gamble that I believe he took with getting Purdy, then I believe he got criticism put on him. He was going to get criticism, or he should have criticism put on him a little earlier than what was necessary, because again, he could have done more. He right, wrong, or indifferent, he could have done more to secure Sims. And I'm not into kissing ass, but I mean, at the same time, this is recruiting, and everybody knows what recruiting is. It's, again, that's what they do. A cool recruiting story that you can take and tell your Alabama people, Mark, if they may still be bitter about this. Maybe you can tell your Georgia people, but there's a another 4-star that came out of Jacksonville by the name of Carson Beck, right? Carson Beck, when he committed to Alabama, the story was amazing. Carson wanted to play baseball. And they found out that Saban found it out. So he talked to the Alabama baseball coach, and the Alabama baseball coach said that's fine. He can play football. He can play baseball. He was committed to Florida for baseball, but the Florida baseball coach didn't want him to play football. So he goes over there, and Saban in his office has the baseball staff, the entire football staff, Carson's family, and he's talking to them after, I think, at the camp. And he writes up on the board every quarterback prospect they had for 2020 at the time. And he says, when you commit, and he erased every prospect from 2020 off of that board and said, this is the only prospect for 2020 we're going after. Now, when people say they don't want, they want people who want to be there, they want a coach who's not going to bend over backwards to the will of the players. There's nobody on this planet that's more hard-ass and hard-nosed that we all know than Nick Saban. But Nick Saban did that for Carson Beck, and he was a 3-star at the time. He wasn't even the creme de la creme prospect that he is now. So I'm just saying, at times you have to know when to adjust and adapt. Kind of like what he talks about with his offense. He says his offense can be tailored or suited to any quarterback. So to me, it doesn't matter. You stick a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. So, but one thing I will say, though, that attitude almost got him Jalen Knighton back, which is a big piece that we lost to Miami. The only way we would get him back is if it was some wild, wild things happen on signing day. But I doubt anything wild happens with that. And I also believe his energy did in turn land us the coveted wide receiver from out of Palm Beach, Brian Robinson, who I've got a chance to get to know this entire football season, and I've been following him, and I've wanted him. And he's been ready to commit since Saturday Night Live, excuse me.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We break it down with Florida State talk each and every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We got Jason Parker from Chop Chat. We got James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football.
We got your voice of James Coleman. Don't worry, we got you.
Yeah, okay. Everybody can identify you. We got you all set. We got you covered.
Also, do you think that I know that Browse wanted to bring in 3 quarterbacks as kind of what Mike Norvell wants to be. Who do you think will probably be able to get in the transfer portal as a quarterback? Because I have no idea. I think that if it ain't King or Franks, I don't particularly want anybody.
I mean, right now I think that's the whole thing. I think we have to wait and see. I think that's where the February class is going to be a lot more interesting, because you're going to get a lot more of the transfer portal, a lot more of these JUCO guys. If those are our 2 options, I think Derek King, the problem with him is that the whole sexiness of him was coming and reuniting with Kendall Briles, who, as of earlier this week, is no longer employed by FSU, or at least will not be employed after the Sun Bowl. And Felipe Franks, if you think I'm going to let a Gator lead our offense, you're damn crazy. There's no way in hell I want Felipe Franks anywhere near the campus of Florida State University after destroying us last season. I'm sorry. I'm bitter. I'm personally bitter about it. I can't help it. Whatnot. So as far as transfers, as far as transfer portal, as far as JUCOs, for that one, I'm going to wait a little bit more until February before we start to worry about that. But I mean, that's going to be the question. Who do you think is going to be out there, James? Like, who do you think? Do you think some guys? I'll give you an example. N'Kosi Perry from Miami. Jaron Williams, someone from Miami? Do some of these guys start to go? Who do you think are some of the guys that might be out there that FSU could possibly look at?
That's something that I'm not 100% sure. When I look at what he wants, I'm trying not to say this without sounding like, because I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the guys, but I think he wants a real cerebral guy with some that can really control his offense. And I don't think you get that from but first off, I don't think we get that from Blackman. And it's not necessarily Blackman's fault. It's the fact that he will be on his fourth quarterback coach in 4 years. Same thing with N'Kosa Perry. I think both of those guys have the talent and the athletic ability to be able to do a lot. I just don't believe they're capable of running this show, running this operation in the way that they're going to need to. I'd rather take my bumps and lumps with a true freshman or someone else that can do it. And when I'm looking at the type of quarterbacks that he's either had or that he's used to command his offense, I think the Texas Tech kid, considering he was in an air raid, but that's an offense where you're kind of just slinging it. You need a guy who can have an understanding of what the defense is trying to do to you and the multiple sets. And right now, the only person I believe that would be eligible for a grad transfer, and if he does that, it would be kind of unprecedented, would be his quarterback at Memphis if he's willing to leave again and follow him from Memphis to Florida State. But that'd be a lot, a lot of movement. And then that would be setting him up to make sure he's just a college coach. He obviously has no aspirations for the NFL, which I don't think that works in the Power Five. I think you have to get guys who have aspirations for playing at the next level, and they're not just happy to be here college guys. I mean, that sounds good and all noble and all those things, but really if it was about the academic experience and the education, Harvard would have the best football program.
And you touched on it a little bit right there. I think that's going to be a big question after the Sun Bowl is what are we going to see from James Blackman? Is he going to stick around? What's he going to do? Is he going to head south to FAU? I mean, they have a great quarterback in Chris Robeson. Is he going to follow Willie Taggart down there? I think these are the questions that need to be asked because quarterback is going to be a huge problem when you have literally the two guys are James Blackman, who, like you pointed out, will be on his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 seasons if he sticks around for 2020. And your other option is Alex Hornibrook, who is one of these players who was a grad transfer and was going to be gone after the season anyway. And he's just one of many people who will not be playing in the Sun Bowl and have already left the program. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Do you want to segue to that?
What am I segueing to?
I'm trying to help you
out. In a trance thus far.
I can't keep running your show, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I cannot keep lifting your show to these levels of greatness.
You've done it for 30 weeks. Why stop now?
Because it's Hanukkah coming up.
You can keep it going. You can keep it going. Well, we'll take a little station break here to remind everyone that we're all over with the recruiting here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and National Signing Day. I was just jotting down all the teams that we've covered or will be covered. I don't think James can hear me tonight. James, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't think James can hear me. He's never been this disrespectful. I don't think he can hear me. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Miami, Florida State, Syracuse, Boston College, Oklahoma, Washington, USC, UCLA, Arizona State. We're covering for National Signing Day. And I probably missed a few.
What about Kent State? How's Kent State?
Once they give us a top 150 class, maybe we'll consider that.
Okay.
Also consider what people should be considering out there, Jason, is the use of Super Chat.
Okay.
Super Chat should be part of some folks' contribution here. So we just want to make that available and let you know that it is available to contribute to the Super Chat. Of course, we need those likes. I appreciate everyone who jumps into the live chat and lets us know and lets everyone in the live chat know that liking the video is key to driving the show. We've been here for 30 weeks. Jason is a perfect 30 for 30. We should get a round of applause right now on the live chat for Jason. We have hit 30 shows. He's a perfect 30 for 30.
That means I've had nothing better to do on a Wednesday night and now a Tuesday night, but be with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And by the way, Kent State has the 103rd class, according to 24/7.
They're up to 103.
Up to 103.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
And they have a guy from Jacksonville who's committed there. So
very nice. You can get my playoff and bowl predictions exclusively at the Voice of College Football Community. 58% against the spread, 80% against the money line. All right. What's next on the recruiting trail? I got my mic falling apart, all sorts of stuff happening to me.
Well, there's more than just recruiting. There's a certain bowl game and certain players who aren't going to be in that bowl game. I think the biggest news that came out of Tallahassee this week was that Cam Akers announced that he will not come back for his senior season in 2020, and he also will not play in the Sun Bowl. And it's really the first major time that FSU has seen this happen. Obviously, in 2017, you had Derwin James, who didn't play in the Independence Bowl because he was getting ready for the draft, and a couple other guys. I believe Josh Sweat didn't play in that bowl game. But this is the first time that FSU has really been impacted because you have Cam Akers who will not play in the bowl game. Dontavius Jackson at linebacker will not play in the bowl game. Alex Hornibrook will not play in the bowl game. So those are three big names that could be huge. I know Arizona State is missing two players who have announced they won't play in the bowl game so they can focus on their NFL draft stock and get their draft status up without the fear of injury. I get it. I understand it. And I will tell Cam Akers, thank you for 3 years. Dontavius Jackson, thank you for your time. Alex Hornibrook, thank you for your season. And I will be the first person to say, get your money right 100%. You need to get your money right. That being said, it does hurt a little bit that, and we've talked about it before, this is the danger of what the college football playoff did. The college football playoff has made all bowl games that aren't the two semifinals each season look obsolete. It looks like it doesn't matter. To me, this is the Sun Bowl. This matters, getting FSU over 500, avoiding the first back-to-back losing season since the early 1970s. This is a big game, and to see three big names who did play a big role this season in various ways, both good and bad, it does hurt a little bit. It hurts a little bit as an FSU football fan to see that happen.
Jason, do you know of any site, any place that we can use as a resource that would have a listing of players that are missing bowl games across the map?
I have not seen one. I know ESPN tends to just post them as they go along, but it is a growing concern. I believe Arizona State's they're starting. I want to say their starting wide receiver Enzo Benjamin, I believe it was, who is already skipping, and I believe it's also their starting. I believe their starting wide receiver and their starting running back who both decided to sit out this one. And James can talk a little bit more about that because, James, you played at a time where I guarantee you would never even think about skipping that Orange Bowl against Penn State. You would never even think – the guys on that team would never even think about, skipping the Gator Bowl against West Virginia, the Orange Bowl against Miami, those big bowl games that weren't for national titles but were still big. What do you attribute it to? What are your thoughts on Cam Akers deciding he's not going to play in the Sun Bowl?
One, I think it's a little bit different. Like when I played, Coach Bowden was still one of the highest paid coaches, around $2 million a year, and that's a big deal. Like right now, you're in a thing where people are still trying to make these young men believe that they're amateurs when there's guys making almost $10 million a year. That's not. It stopped becoming amateur athletics when that happened, and then you're seeing guys still getting put on their anarchic model where their scholarships. Some schools still don't guarantee all 4 years of your scholarship. You're still in a year-to-year. Your first 2 years are guaranteed in the LOI, but after that, it's a year-to-year contract. So these guys are putting, and then you also see how fans treat you. Florida State fans have been very vocal the last couple of years. Obviously, the guy who gets paid $5 million a year, he signed up for that. The kid who is eating ramen toward the end of the month, waiting on the scholarship check to renew, did not sign up for that. He signed up for an opportunity to go to the NFL. So if you feel like you've done everything to showcase your talents, then there's nothing more than a bowl game against Arizona State that's going to show scouts anything more. Also, during that time, you saw there wasn't as many underclassmen leaving. Like when the underclassmen left, you really knew that underclassman had a really solid chance to to go to the NFL. Now underclassmen are leaving, and they're leaving just to leave, and there's really nothing back for them. I mean, they can always come back and get their academic. Once you leave, they'll encourage you to come back and get your scholarship, because at a certain point, you count toward the APR, so they need you to graduate. But in terms of you being fiscally benefiting from your talents, a lot of these guys are leaving too early. But like a guy like Cam, there's nothing that he's going to do to increase his stock by playing another year or playing another game besides get injured. And he may have not signed the insurance policy because he's a junior. Maybe he was a big enough. I don't know. I'm assuming, but a lot of guys don't sign that policy until they go into their senior year, for if they get hurt. And still, you want to play ball, you want to work. You don't want to just get hurt and then take a check, $2 million check to not ever play again. So that's kind of why you see the rise in it, because guys, it's not the same where, you feel the affinity for your coach and you like your coach, but it ain't like how when I go to Tallahassee, I go see Bobby. Like, that's a stop that I have to make to go see. I promise you, guys aren't going to go out of their way to go see Jimbo Fisher. They may, if they run into Jimbo, they're going to love him, but they're not going out of their way to go see him. Like, there's guys who will literally, the only reason they'll come to Tallahassee is to see Bobby and not come to a game. And there's alumni who won't come back because of how they felt the university used them. So I think that's why it's a system right now that's sick, that needs to be changed and tweaked so that we can all benefit and love the product. Or in another 20 years, we probably will lose with everything that's beautiful about college football. I just needed to stay true until my sons get there.
And I think it's the big thing we've talked about is that we're seeing it now. Like we talked about, I think in 2016, when you had the Orange Bowl against Michigan, you had Dalvin Cook, who probably could have skipped that game, still been drafted and did fine, went out there, had one hell of a ball game, got the MVP award, and looked damn good in any game, but he didn't have to play in that game. And you had him in 2017 in the Independence Bowl, which was, on the scale of bowl games, it's a little bit in the lower class than the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or a game like that. But it still is a bowl game, so it still hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit more that it's Cam Akers. It's a huge offensive weapon who won't be in the game. But I agree with James 100%. This is about making sure that you have to look out for yourself, because right now, and it's very evident by what happened with the Norvell coaching search. It has to go back to that right now there's not a lot of care for the players. Is it a money issue? Is it whatnot? Whatever it is, if you're Cam Akers, go get yours. If you're Dontavius Jackson, go get yours. If you're Alex Hornibrook, go get yours. I 100% support the move. It hurts me. I'm a little bit frustrated that this is what college football is, but I also understand the economics. Get your money right. That's the best way to put it. Get your money right.
Just to outline the two players missing for Arizona State. They're substantial here. We've got Eno Benjamin. He's been one of the top backs in the Pac-12 for the past several seasons. I watched him play on numerous occasions. 10 touchdowns out of the backfield, 2 touchdown receptions, 43 catches, 1,000 yards rushing, and that was behind a makeshift offensive line. He had a much better season in 2018. And Brandon Ayuk, who's their top pass catcher with 65, almost 1,200 yards, 18 plus per catch, and 8 touchdowns. So they're two top playmakers by far gone from this game. But obviously Cam Akers, who, when I started watching the games play-by-play, and when I would miss the games live, I would watch the condensed versions. I told these guys, Jason, and Logan, that I forgot momentarily through the 2018 campaign. I had forgotten how good, how devastating Cam Akers can be from that remarkable 2017 season. Obviously, the offensive line issues, and didn't have quite the productivity in 2018 by far. I forgot how good he was, and he obviously had a tremendous season.
He also forgot how good he was in 2018, how he went from 1,000 yards to literally just over 700. And I get the offensive line's horrible. I'll be the first person to say that you want to talk about makeshift offensive lines. Look at what FSU has put out for the last 4 or 5 seasons on that position group. I think the advantage that FSU has in this one was the decision by Tamarian Terry that he is going to play in the game, and then he'll figure out what he's going to do afterwards and whatnot. I think that's huge, because I think that gives FSU that pass threat that Arizona State really hasn't been able to defend a lot this season. And let's give this credit right here. And I'm gonna hype up the Sun Bowl a little bit more than a lot of people may want to hear. You've got a decent ball game. You have the makings here for a decent ball game. You've got a 6-6 Florida State team, 3 losses by probably arguably 1 possession each, 3 losses by 14 combined points. You've got Arizona State with 3 losses by, I believe, 9 points, and they're a 7-5 team. So you could potentially, in a best case scenario, almost have a 10-2, 9-3 team that should be playing in the Orange Bowl as opposed to playing in El Paso, beautiful El Paso, Texas, in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl with POD at halftime. Anyway, sorry, I'm still going to be nauseous on that one for a moment. So you have the potential there, and I think Arizona State losing 2 players, us losing Cam Akers, kind of brings some of the sexiness off the game. But if both teams are what we have seen at various points this season, this could be a very interesting Sun Bowl. And I think FSU with Tamari and Terry has a slight advantage in this one.
Yeah, I mean, if he comes out and he's playing like he wants to go to the league and he does everything that he needs to do, he needs to go. As far as Terry goes, and I think he plays better with Blackman because Blackman can throw the deep ball, whereas for whatever reason, Hornibrook could not throw the deep ball. It's just like I said, D-Jax doesn't help or hurt. I think this is the team that you need to see because this is more than likely going to be the foundation for what Norvell is going to have to work with. And these guys have a little bit more incentive to play. We talked about it. I do agree with Cam, but man, I just don't think I think it's basically because of social media. It used to be going to a bowl game was one of it was like a blessing. It was a Christmas gift. Like some of us guys really, that's why I don't believe these guys' hardship stories. And I know it sounds callous, but I really grew up poor. And Christmas, like the gifts that we got for bowl games, that's why I wanted to go to bowl games. Because that was my Christmas gifts. Like, we got things like 5-disc CD. Like these guys probably don't even understand this. But a 5-disc CD changer in 2002 with 2 speakers and that I could hook my PlayStation up with, I could have surround sound. Man, that was like the best Christmas gift I'd ever gotten up until that point.
James, I got a leather gift bag that we got from the first ACC championship game that they gave to the media. That's still one of my favorite bags to use that I'm going to take up to Boca this weekend for the Boca Raton Bowl. So I get it. Trust me. I've been in the media for 15 years. I'm a media whore when it comes to that media gift. I completely agree with you. I worked 3 jobs in college too. I understand where you're coming from. You are 100% correct. And I think you're right. It is a different world now than it was when you and I were in school 15 years ago where, it was disappointing that FSU didn't win the ACC in 2004 and ended up, quote unquote, only in the Gator Bowl, but it was still a damn good ball game beating West Virginia. And I know you wouldn't have missed it for the world. Those seniors, Chris Ricks, those guys wouldn't have missed that game for the world. It's just a different environment now. And I think it is because in a lot of ways, a lot more of the current players are more woke to them, for lack of a better term, being used. I mean, that's the best way you can describe it. Is there's a lot of players who are being used by the administration, by the NCAA, by FSU, by Florida, Ohio State, Miami, everywhere else.
Let alone it being a different world. I won't say how many years before that.
Yeah. I just
for me, before you and James, of course, were in school.
I just want to point out to the person, James, you can't see this right now, but I don't know if you can or not, but there's a person who wrote on there about Miami losing to FIU. I just want to remind Miami fans out there who are watching, thank you for watching, but just to remind you, you lost to FIU this year. I like to remind people of that occasionally. I don't care that you beat us.
Jason, you realize that they have a very simple retort to that.
They beat us. I'll say it. They beat us.
They beat you by 17 points.
And then lost to FIU, which is why let's be honest, that's why Willie Taggart got fired. I don't think he should have fired 21 games in, but he got fired because we lost bad to a Miami team that looked horrendous against FIU and looked even worse against a Duke team that went 5-7. But it also just frustrates Miami fans to realize that right now, and for the time being, they have a losing streak to FIU. So shout out to the Canes.
Do you guys have an explanation of why you guys get a better bowl bid than Miami? So both teams are 6-6. I would say on the prestige and the brand factor, you're roughly in the same neighborhood, and you got a better bowl bid against a Power 5 team in the Pac-12. I don't
Because
think it's even
money,
close.
money in the and in the brand.
money
We'll travel. Miami fans won't travel there. I
Okay.
mean, that's just the biggest part about it. I mean, if I'm being honest, and I don't necessarily know. I think the date is later, so we attribute a later date to a better bowl, but I'm not 100% sure which one's better, the Shreveport Bowl or the Tony the Tiger Bowl.
Well,
I
we
mean,
were
they're
playing Louisiana Tech in Shreveport in the Independence.
anything with
Playing a Pac-12 on a CBS game. I just think you've got the better game.
Frosted Flakes are better than the Walk-Ons. I mean, Walk-Ons is a good restaurant. They opened one down here in South Florida.
I've never been to Walk-Ons.
It's not bad. It's got a little spice to it. But
You think they'll sponsor us?
I mean, at this point, anyone can sponsor Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Basically turning folks down left and right. I'm looking for the right sponsor.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, I think James hit the nail on the head. I think money is the number one reason. Number two, it's the fact that Florida State is 2-1 in their last 3 games, and obviously their loss was a blowout loss to Florida, but they're 2-1 in their last 3 games, and Miami has in their last 2 games looked horrendous. And that's not a knock. I'm not trying to smack talk Miami. The fact is that Miami looked horrendous against FIU and arguably looked just as bad, if not worse, against Duke. And that's why I think Louisiana Tech will win that game. I think Miami is a better team, but I think Louisiana Tech is going to win that game because right now, do you trust Miami? Do you trust this Miami team? This is a team right now that went from coming back on the road to Pittsburgh, blowing us out in Tallahassee, looking like rock stars against Louisville, and then looking like hot garbage against FIU and Duke. This is the new Miami, and this is right now, you don't want that. You don't want to put that on national TV, on network television, CBS, in the Sun Bowl, when you can put it at 4 o'clock, day after Christmas, just kind of bury them against Louisiana Tech, which people keep forgetting. Louisiana Tech is only 70 miles away from Shreveport. Ruston's only 70 miles away, so there's going to be a lot of Louisiana Tech fans making the trip there. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I think Louisiana Tech can beat Miami, and I think they will.
I also know that the Gasparilla Bowl did everything in their power to try to get Florida State to stay in the state, and we didn't do what we were supposed to do by looking competent against teams with a pulse, and that's the sad part about the end of the Willie Taggart era, and I believe it will look different under Mike Norvell. It doesn't matter how much you yell. It doesn't matter if you yell or not. At a certain point, being a former player, personal responsibility has to come into effect. Like I said, we all wanted to go to the league. It did not matter. I played for Jeff Bowden, and Jeff Bowden was not an offensive mind. And we still made plays during that era. 3 ACC should have been 4. Virginia Tech kind of stole one from us, but that's okay. We got them the next year. And actually 2 field goals away from possibly playing in 2 national championship games. So it's just, again, at a certain point, you do need new blood. But if Mike Norvell doesn't have the ability to go in and get rid of the cancers, to truly get rid of the cancers, then all you're going to do is see another year. And people, I saw in the chat, and I think small minds can't grasp the totality of things that are larger than life or larger than what they do, dropping fries and things like that. You have to understand that you're coaching a bunch of alphas, and you can't just force a guy to go run a gasser. You can't just force a guy to go do something. You have got to make them believe that them doing that is what's going to make it better. And that's where Bobby was better than anybody. And so was Mickey Andrews and a lot of the other guys that he had on his staff. And then when he lost that ability, that's when he no longer became effective. Jimbo had that for a while, and then Jimbo had some off-field stuff that happened between one of the advanced his career and whatever other things you want to believe, that made him lose the ability to be able to motivate the young men to be able to go for an achievement that was outside of their own. And if Mike Norvell can do that, then he will be successful. But Mike Norvell, the only way to do that is to be able to, like I said, one side of me wants to say you got to be able to. I still say give them their opportunity to earn their scholarship, but playing on the field is an option. So like you can cut them off the team and let them still go to school, but they don't have to play for the football team. And I think where Taggart was handicapped is he knew if he cut some of those guys, they weren't going to school, and you would be on probation, which is, you've never, like I heard another Willie in Tallahassee say, Willie Simmons say, no coach has ever been fired for being on academic probation and winning, but try that at Florida State. Try getting this on probation and see how long you have your job. So, but I do believe that this whole thing, like Norvell probably needs to go in there, and there needs to be 10 guys that need to be let go or asked to not come back and transfer, and fill those with guys who fit his mentality and his mindset, and then go out there and win games.
Did we replace Logan with James?
I believe so. I was just thinking I need a drink of water desperately because I've been carrying this show for 60 minutes. I have been talking nonstop. So I wish you guys would jump in from time to time.
Try not to work so hard, Mark Rogers TV.
Give me a break. Give me a break. The analysis is just flowing out of me.
Hey, I'm gonna give a shout out to you guys real quick before we go, since we're not gonna be on until the first night of Hanukkah is Sunday night. Happy Hanukkah to all my fellow Hebrews out there. Baruch atah Adonai.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to everyone from the Voice of College Football, courtesy James as well and Jason. And we'll have to figure out what we're going to do next week concerning our Florida State Seminoles live show. But because we want to be able to recap National Signing Day and we want to be able to get you all set for the big Sun Bowl matchup against Arizona State as well.
It's great.
Isn't it more like can we give it a little bit? It's I haven't heard that commercial in a long time, but it's more like it's great.
I got yelled at by one of your viewers for clapping too loud, so I'm just going to try to keep it down a little bit. So.
I did not hear any claps out of you.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I haven't clapped this week. I got yelled at, so it's fine.
Okay. Let's be kind to Jason.
Be good.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Keep the notifications on because I will be letting you know when our Florida State show will be live streaming next week right here at Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football. James, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate you having me. Sorry about having reckless kids.
No worries, man. Keep them reckless, but keep them under control or do whatever you want, man. You're the guy in charge, or I think you should be in charge.
Oh, he's not in charge. Listen, he's not in charge of the operation. Those kids are clearly in charge.
All right, everyone. We will see you soon, and keep it locked in here. National Signing Days tomorrow. We are here full throttle all through the day.